Hello, good evening. Welcome to the regular trustee meeting for the Beavercreek Township. It is Monday, April 10th, 2023. It is 5:02 p.m. And if you'd like to stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I make a motion to excuse Ms. Wallace from today's meeting.
Have a change. I got to add a couple things to the agenda. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
On your printed copy, I just want to point out it's in your packet, but we have a zoning commission appointment, so that's on your printed out. Also need to add under fire after blue card, National Public Safety Telecommunications Week and National Volunteer Week. We have two proclamations to add. Well, three total, but two under the telecommunications, one for City of Beavercreek, one for City Xenia Green Central. Now, those are the two changes.
Okay. I hadn't gotten to the agenda yet, but I'll still make a motion to excuse Ms. Wallace from today's meeting and then approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $333,343.55 for the April 5th, 2023 payroll.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the payment listing report in the amount of $488,660.94 for warrants through April 6th, 2023.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the March 27th, 2023 regular trustee meeting as presented.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes. All right, we've reached the point where we would encourage citizens to come talk to us. If anyone's in the audience, you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Mr. Zahariev?
Thank you. No old business, no new business. I'll move to the Greene County Sheriff's Office. On page 10 of your packet is the monthly report for the Sheriff's Office. Are there any questions?
As far as the, I think this was all installed, everything was installed on the new super streets for the last soccer season, but we've got the upcoming soccer season upon us. I don't know if anything we need as far as an awareness item or anything that needs to be considered there.
Or signage.
Just signage and signalizing and anything else.
They did a program for the last two, so they'll also be able to monitor it remotely to make any changes. The signage, we usually work with the Sheriff's Office to use their signage as well.
Okay. And then as far as on that topic, in this, if the Sheriff's Department's involved in it at all or not, as far as, so the signage at that Super Street intersection, I don't know if you've been involved in any of those discussions as far as updating the signage, as far as which lane is the turn lane to go,
Yeah.
if you're coming northbound, if you're going to want to go westbound, either on Factory.
So Mr. Parks and Mr. Schroeder and I attended the quarterly ODOT Greene County meeting. So they cover all the projects in Greene County for all the jurisdictions. And they are going to make that a local project. So there'll be the Greene County office, ODOT, as opposed to the contractor making them come back out. So that's going to be handled at the local level. We did approve and looked at the signage. We did sign off on it. And so it will, especially in the southbound, I should say the south side of Factory going northbound, and the same thing on the other side coming southbound, it will clearly be marked only with the yellow, much like you see in some other interstate and byways projects where it'll be clearly marked what lane you need to be in. But I don't know if it'll be up before the soccer tournament because
Okay. And it's not directly related to the biweekly, but it's related from a sheriff's standpoint as far as just traffic control and what you may end up dealing with soon if those signs aren't up before that tournament. And the only other comment I had, and I don't think it's necessarily reflected this time period wise, I guess maybe it is, but just a appreciation to the Sheriff's Department for the assistance on Trayvine and Hilltop and such. A lot of activity, and had another break-in over the weekend. That was,
They'll be monitoring that and conducting extra patrols and FIing people and staying on as much as we can.
yeah, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. On page 21 of your packet is the monthly report for HR. Are there any questions?
Where are we at with in our cycle as far as health insurance renewal and negotiation? Is it in midsummer or is it going to be end of the year?
No, we extended it so we have it to end at budget time. So we will probably start in October, probably sending out the fire forms online to update. So we'll know for November and December what our renewal rate will be for 2024. So everything kind of matches now. So if we need to make any budget adjustments in 2024 based on any changes that are made. So it will now fall with the budget year.
Where did we land? Remind us if you can where we landed on the wellness program.
The current vendor does not have wellness.
Doesn't have one
So
at all,
we
so-
have some money budgeted for some wellness programs. Some of it was from rebates that we received previously under other programs. So we're putting together an overall program for the township that we'll be able to invest with rebates previously received by our vendors.
Okay. And union and non-union employees are aware of that. Obviously, there's no wellness program. In the past, there were some incentives to those that participated in that wellness program. And so in the absence of a wellness program, have they been, so that they can budget accordingly or manage expectations?
Well, so when we present a program this year to you, it'll probably include some incentives so that we do something very similar to incentivize employees to come like to a health check. It just may be provided by a third party, which it was last time, but not through our insurance company. It'll be probably the township contracting with a third party to come in. There is a new rep in the fire department, and so he has brought some ideas as well. So we're trying to put together an overall package that we can present for the entire township and all employees, whether union or non-union.
And my bringing it up is just as a reminder, obviously some folks may rely upon that from a budgeting standpoint, just for personal finances, just to make sure we manage their expectations. So.
Yes, so they didn't receive wellness last year in regards to bonuses. They did receive the, come and get the $25 to the health fair, or was it two gift cards? I don't recall, but so we're looking at something very similar. Probably not the bonuses because we got that. We agreed last time.
We
The
got a
rebates we
reimbursement.
received, we would split 50-50. So 50% would go to the employees, and the other 50 would go
That's
back
the piece
into
I'm
the
talking about.
fund. So we still have that fund money in the individual funds that was reimbursed.
I had no other questions on HR.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. First item we'll do is the zoning commission appointment. You can pass it as presented. Fire Marshal's here to answer any questions on that and the monthly report.
Yeah, this is a reappointment for installed.
No, we have a copy of that one.
Here's this one.
Oh, here, I'm sorry.
It's also in the packet on page 36.
And this individual's background,
I'm sorry.
this individual's background as far as zoning commission.
She has been on the zoning commission.
That's Ann, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just a reappointment, okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20230411-CDR-A. And a resolution to appoint Ann Stalter as a full member of the zoning commission. And where is her term?
It expires April 12th of 2028.
expiring April 12th of 2028, as presented.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
trustee Dean,
Yes.
Thank you, Board. The only other thing I have is just some quick information items. The last open house we had for the comp plan was on the 24th at Lifeway Pentecostal Church up on Trayvine. About 15 people came to that. And then obviously we had the presentation on the last trustees meeting. So the road show's complete. All the online activity is complete. April 20th is the zoning commission workshop that we have with them. And so that's pretty much the update for the comp plan. So if you have any questions on the bi-weekly.
Monthly.
How long from now until they come out with the report and everything?
So we will have this zoning commission review and work session of it. And then it should be no more than 2 months, I think, before we start to get the final copy revised into you guys. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Do we have where do we stand on the $5 license plate tax bucket that we established to help pay where do we stand as far as our balance on the super street? We have
So let me pull that up for you. We just had a good month. March's report came in and it was $12,000. So we're seeing some higher revenues now. That we're looking back on statistical several years since we put the $5 fee in. You can see, you can do multiple years now. So you see these big months, which I think is either the 3 or 5 you can do. So if you look at our current on the screen there, so far we've collected $30,000 and our outstanding balance, and we haven't made a payment for 2023. We wait till the county invoices us or we remind the county to invoice us. So we owe $125,000 on the super street.
But year to date, we've already collected 30.
Year to date on collection on just the $5, you can see the jump there in 2021 and 2022.
Okay.
So if we go back to 2020, we collected $66,000, and then you can see where the additional $5 kicked in 2021, and then total with the additional was $110,000 and change, and then 2022 was $113,900 and change. And then so far we're up, we're $30,000 this year.
And has the city were they making a 5-year payment or are they waiting till the very end?
So their payment starts year 5. So I'm assuming it's now they'll be making their first year. So they're going to be paying it off in 5 years. But the county gave us both 10 years. We've been making payments since day one. They didn't charge us. And as you can see there in 18, we had to remind them in 19 to send us the invoice, so we paid $50,000 in 2019. So the city will be paying in the 5 years, but the second of the 10-year process, the agreement that the city and the township agreed with the county on.
And so can you just add, this is Excel, right? Can you just quick sum, what's the 2018 through 2023 total collected?
For the $5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we go back to 2020, it started in March. You can see there, so it's 4504.181 is the ORC code section. Mm-hmm. So in 2020, for that additional $5 that we did, or do you want to talk about the original one we did for the Super Street?
The Super Street one.
Okay.
Right.
So that would be, let me go back here. Go back a ways. So the additional, you can see 46 in 2019, 46,717 in 2020, and 48, and then 49 last year and 2022, and we're at 13,175 this year.
Okay.
So that's where we're at in those funds.
So in roughly 5 years, it'll pay for itself.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, that $5 that we imposed just for the super street, that was passed in December 5th of 2016.
But then it becomes ongoing recurring revenue.
Correct.
That
It's
can be used for
ongoing.
other
So when the
projects.
project,
Okay.
yeah, that additional 25,000 we're spending a year will go right back into paving projects.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that section? The next item is on page 38 of your packet is the biweekly report for IT. I'll point out we got 300%, so we're pretty close on patches on workstations. So they are currently working on that. I had a conversation with our IT folks on Friday afternoon. One discussion was the updated policy. And so that one's probably going to be punted to the new township administrator because I don't think I'm going to get it done in 2 weeks because we're going to be separating the social media policy and the electronic policy into two separate. And social media, when we instituted that policy, was kind of new and we were running into some issues, so we put that policy together. We just put it under the electronic, and our new vendors, like, it needs to be two separate. We need to talk about infrastructure and how to use the devices and put some safety precautions in. And then the other is to update the social media policy as well. I mean, we're still talking about things like MySpace and fax machines on either one. So we still have those, but I don't know if anybody uses MySpace, but we're just gonna, because social media is changing all the time and there's new platforms out there, so we're going to try to make it broad as possible in regards to social media platforms. Any questions on IT?
Good.
Thank you, Board. First item under the Finance Department is to accept a motion for the resignation for our payroll specialist, and staff is recommending that Jane is eligible for reemployment with the township. There is a motion there on page 40.
I move to accept payroll specialist Jane McLaughlin's resignation effective April 19th, 2023. Jane McLaughlin is eligible for reemployment within Beavercreek Township.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. And then the next item is the monthly report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I had none. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is Public Service Department and a monthly report. Are there any questions?
I had one other question. As of the close of business yesterday, do we have any applicants for fiscal officer?
One.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board. Any questions for
None.
Public Service Department?
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. I'll turn it over to the Fire Chief. First item is the PSISN, I'll get it right, PISN, as we call it, PSISN Interagency Agreement. Board, I apologize, I was not at the last meeting. All the jurisdictions did pass the agreement. If we don't pass it, we're still going to be charged, but through our dispatch service agreement through City of Beavercreek. So one thing that I've discussed with the local administrators group, which includes city managers and township administrator and the county administrator, is, and it is on our agenda for the 26th, Mr. Rushing and I will both be at that meeting, there is an addendum. And one thing I'm going to advocate that kind of give us a little bit of negotiation power to make some changes in regards to an amendment to the original policy to discuss some of the things the board had concerns about. I do agree that the agencies that are paying, or the jurisdictions that are paying more, should have more seats on the board. I brought that up initially when we first started talking this as a group. I got a lot of pushback from one of the cities on that, and now they want to change it, and potentially, there's gonna be a lot of discussion on the 26th. We're gonna be talking about this, the addendum, which is gonna be including positions. The city of Xenia no longer wants to support those positions in regards as an in-house city of Xenia employee. I did attend the OCMA conference last week. I know another administrator in this county wants to just start over from everything from dispatch to the interagency agreement. So I think you're going to see a lot of discussion on the 26th. And then we're going to be entering into negotiations on the addendum, which I'm going to push that it's going to be also an amendment to address some of the concerns that essentially Beavercreek Township, Fairborn, Greene County, and the city of Xenia should all have, is that if we're paying the majority of the interagency agreement when it comes to the dispatching software and staff, that we have greater or more board seats than, let's say, another jurisdiction that doesn't pay anything, that really the county is paying for them. So that is
Yeah,
my
it should
goal.
be pro rata. Yeah.
Excuse me?
It should be pro rata, not
Correct.
favor one or the other, just
Right.
based on contribution.
That is correct. So it's my recommendation we move forward with the current agreement as presented last week, and then again in this packet this week, or excuse me, last meeting, and then this meeting, and then allow the administrators to start that. It's going to be some tough discussions, I'll tell you that, and that's going to start on the 26th.
What would compel them to agree, though?
If they're not.
Because we won't sign
If
the
we're
addendum.
hostage either way, what
Yeah,
compels them?
so this is about the positions. So we're actually talking about a current position that we fund, the city of Beavercreek, city of Fairborn, Greene County, and the city of Xenia fund. That is currently a city of Xenia employee. So we're actually talking about a position. They want to add additional positions, but they don't want to. They want to just get rid of the whole thing. So we're going to be looking at everything from outsourcing. But we are talking about a position. So I think we're in a, in regards to an IT position with the city of Xenia, I think we're in a position that we have some leverage to talk about some of the other concerns that, quite frankly, I've had and then the fire chief has had for several years talking about this interagency agreement. Chief and I had some discussion today on it. Originally, it was sold to all the jurisdictions. It was going to be the catch-all, from CAD to jail software to police software to fire and EMS software. Well, fire and EMS software is not there yet, and that's why we have to. And we just switched to Image Trend, so that's why we have to have it. City of Xenia has it. I forget what Fairborn's using, but so there's going to have to be that discussion that this is not a catch-all for what we were promised. Chief, how many years ago?
2007.
Yeah. So now, if this is going to be a part of a greater discussion as a countywide dispatch center, which will then, this agreement would probably null and void if we did agree to go to a countywide dispatch center, because then it would include funding the dispatch center and a very similar interagency agreement. So one administrator told me last week it's time to blow it up. So it's going to be an
How
interesting
many
meeting.
seats do they have?
Excuse me?
How many seats do they have, though? If you only
Well,
have one seat.
they have one
out
seat
of 10,
and
doesn't-
they don't pay. So, but they are an administrator in regards to they are, excuse me, I shouldn't say administrator. They are a customer when it comes to dispatching in the current Central Green Dispatch Center. So they have some leverage in a different way than this interagency agreement.
Okay.
And I'm sure he'll be vocal on the 26th as well when it comes to dispatching.
I'll make a motion to approve the Greene County Public Safety Information Sharing Network interagency agreement updated February 2023 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. I'll turn it over to the fire chief for the fire gear.
Thank you, Board. Tonight, we're requesting replacement of 4 sets of fire gear, so both coats and trousers. This is kind of part of our ongoing capital plan, which is why you have an abbreviated version instead of the full 15 points. If you prefer to see the full 15 points, it would be essentially a regurgitation of prior ones. So this is an ongoing set of purchases we'll be making as those sets of gear reach their 10-year end of life per the manufacturer and NFPA standard, and we need to replace those.
Just general question is, I'm just curious whenever someone says it's kind of like a truck being end of life at 10 years if it only has 1,000 miles on it. So same with gear. How do you know it's not end of life sooner than 10 years or longer than 10 years?
The shorter than 10 years is a little bit easier because we do a pretty robust testing, and that's something that we've committed to. It's a testing and maintenance and repair program that we have. And that's to make sure that all of our gear is meeting the manufacturer standards for how it's worn. The problem with the post 10 years, and I actually did some research because I anticipated this type of question, is they don't really know how long it will last.
Right.
But they do know that some of the components do have essentially a half-life. They break down over time.
That's what I assumed. There's a
And
coating or
most
something.
of the testing is destructive testing to get beyond that. So they don't have a good way. So in the end, it gets revisited about every year. Those standards get updated. They say, because fire chiefs and folks who sign the checks are always asking, why is this apparently good set of gear going out at 10 years arbitrarily? And the answer is that's the best number that they can all agree upon as far as a life cycle for those.
Because you don't track utilization, correct, of it?
Yes, we do.
Do you know how many times it went out and came back in and was cleaned or not?
Yeah, we track cleanings, we track maintenance, and we track usage in hazardous environments.
Because it's more a matter of, my assumption was they had an average of how many times it was utilized within that 10-year period. And if you have someone that's utilizing it twice as much as that average, they need new gear sooner than 10 years.
Right. And that's one of the reasons we maintain the system where our folks have two sets of gear so that when one is out of service for cleaning or maintenance or whatever, they have a backup set. But the gear gets worn about half the amount of time of a traditional set. And then you look at a chief set of gear, it gets worn like, I don't know, 100th of the time. So, I mean, I think mine's still in the plastic bag that it came back from the cleaners and testers. So it seems like that should go longer. Unfortunately, they don't make any sort of provision for lightly worn and stored in appropriate climate.
Okay. I make a motion to approve purchase request 23-fire-0154 to Phoenix Safety Outfitters 1117 for 4 turnout coats and pants in the amount not to exceed $15,996 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
I do have a second, but I was gonna ask, what do you do with the gear that's reached the end of life? Do you put it on Gov Deals or do you use it
No,
for-
and so one of the parts of the standard is we cannot sell it or release it for use in public safety environments outside. Now, that would be an equal burden, I would think, between us and then whoever would acquire it. But what we specifically do is we actually keep the best sets and we outfit our cadets and
For training.
use it for training environment for them because it can be used as long as it's not in an IDLH, a dangerous environment. It can be used for training purposes, for familiarity purposes, and all that. So our cadets are put into gear. They're able to perform all of the practical tasks that the program offers them wearing full turnout gear, so they get the familiarity with it.
Right, thank you. Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is the blue card, sending 3 people to become instructors.
And this is just to replenish our instructor cadre. We've had some changeover in that, and as people reach the end of certification for it, as new folks are interested, we bring new folks in. We are maintaining our own department, and then we also have been offering and coordinating training with neighboring departments per an agreement we made years and years ago. I can't remember the specifics of it, but we do train mutual aid neighbors essentially at cost. So we work with them, and then we include them in classes. When we're offering a class for our own folks, if there's additional seats, we bring them in because that allows us to get some cross-border training with them as well.
Make a motion to approve purchase request 23-fire-190 to Across the Street Productions for 3 Blue Card instructor classes in the amount not to exceed $13,500 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Cruz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity on that, is it a per instructor fee? So I was trying to do the math of 13,500 divided by 3.
I
Or
don't
is it
recall how the
Or is it up to
invoice
3
says.
for a certain number? Or
I,
like-
I don't recall. Do you know off the top of your head?
It's per instructor fee.
It is, okay. All right, thank you.
Is it evenly divisible by 3?
No, I was just curious.
I'm sure it's tax or something.
It's more a matter of if it's a fixed amount for up to 3 or up to 5, or if we're filling the bucket was the real question.
Yeah, I don't believe,
But if
I
it's
believe
per
as
instructor,
Chief
then
Easter
it's-
said, it's
yeah.
per, I don't know why it's not divisible by 3.
That's fine, it's per seat, essentially is what you're saying. Yep, got it, thank you.
So it might be more for the first and slightly reduced for the second and third, I'm not sure.
Yep.
Good question, I don't know the answer.
That's how my brain works, apologize.
Thank you, Board. The next is the added items. We do have a couple proclamations for you for the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, or for our dispatchers. We are dispatched by City of Beavercreek mostly for fire and police, but we also use all 911 calls in the unincorporated area go to Xenia Green, and if it's for the sheriff, it stays with them. And if it's for fire and EMS, it's transferred to the City of Beavercreek. So we would like to recognize both the City of Beavercreek and the Xenia Green dispatchers for the hard work they do.
You want these read in there?
Yeah, since it wasn't in the packet, if
That's
you
fine.
could, please.
Yeah, make a motion to approve a proclamation recognizing City of Beavercreek Police Dispatch during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require fire or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of firefighters and paramedics is critical to protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our firefighters and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the City of Beavercreek Police Dispatch. And whereas City of Beavercreek Police Dispatchers are the first critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, soliciting life-saving information about emergencies and dispatching the appropriate response. And whereas City of Beavercreek Police Dispatchers are a vital link to our firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas City of Beavercreek Police Dispatchers have contributed to the successful suppression of fires and treatment of patients. And whereas the City of Beavercreek Police Dispatchers actively train with our firefighters to obtain communications and understanding of our respective areas of operation. And whereas each City of Beavercreek Police Dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, proclaim the week of April 9th through April 15th, 2023 to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Beavercreek Township, in honor of the men and women of the City of Beavercreek Police Dispatch, whose diligence and professionalism keep our township and citizens safe.
Second.
Trustee Cruz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Make another motion to approve a proclamation recognizing Xenia Green Central Communications Center during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require fire, emergency medical services, or law enforcement, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of firefighters, paramedics, and sheriff deputies is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. Whereas the safety of our firefighters and sheriff deputies is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens who telephone the Xenia Green Central Communications Center, and whereas Xenia Green Central Communications Center dispatchers are the first critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, soliciting life-saving information about emergencies and dispatching the appropriate response. And whereas Xenia Green Central Communications Center dispatchers are a vital link for our firefighters and sheriff deputies by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas Xenia Green Central Communications Center dispatchers actively train with our firefighters to improve communications and understanding of our respective areas of operation. And whereas Xenia Green Central Communications Center dispatchers have contributed to the suppression of fires, treatment of patients, and apprehension of criminals. And whereas each Xenia Green Central Communications Center dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, proclaim the week of April 9th through April 15th, 2023 to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Beavercreek Township in honor of the men and women of the Xenia Green Central Communications Center whose diligence and professionalism keep our township and citizens safe.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the National Volunteer Week, and we would like to recognize our auxiliary.
This one's a little different for you.
I memorized those two. Those are good. I'm pleased to make a motion to approve a proclamation recognizing the volunteers of the Fire Department Auxiliary during National Volunteer Week. Whereas National Volunteer Week was established in 1974 as an opportunity to recognize the impact of volunteer service and the power of volunteers to build stronger communities. And whereas the members of the Fire Department Auxiliary continue a tradition of volunteerism in Beaver Creek dating back to the establishment of the Fire Department in 1946, followed by the district's Women's Auxiliary of 1950s. And whereas the current Fire Department Auxiliary was formed in 1995 under the care of Brother Tom Payne with volunteers from the Beavercreek Township Fire Department family and community, who, although not directly involved in fire suppression or emergency medical services, are committed to supporting those who are. And whereas the auxiliary supports the fire department through victim assistance, on-scene support, social activities, CERT, fire incident technicians, fire cadets, and many other roles. And whereas during the past year, the volunteers of the Fire Department Auxiliary donated 1,558 hours of their time at 82 different call-outs and activities to nurture the Beaver Creek Township Fire Department family and reaching out to the Beaver Creek community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of Trustees of Beaver Creek Township, proclaim the week of April 16th through April 22nd, 2023 to be National Volunteer Week in Beaver Creek Township in honor of the men and women of the Fire Department Auxiliary and their dedication, commitment, and support of the fire department and the Beaver Creek community.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. As there are 2 copies each, one for the resolution book and then the proclamations that will be delivered to the organizations. The last item is on page 49 tonight is your your monthly report.
Or the framework of the start of a replacement. And so this is much abbreviated. We're literally in the process of transitioning from the old system to the new system, which includes building all of the reports from that new data source. And so this is what I was able to cobble together in time for production for the board. You'll see more familiar ones over the next couple of meetings as we get those built out. And actually, this is a good time if there's things that you haven't seen that you'd like to, or any tweaks you'd like made. If you could pass those on, that would be much appreciated, and I can customize it to your current interests and expectations.
I think it's just important in general to make sure that we delineate, but then show a collective between the unincorporated and the incorporated. We continue to do that just so that we can explain to those in the incorporated section essentially how meaningful the department is to the whole community, and also vice versa, that it's paid for and utilized by both.
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Legal advisor?
Nothing today.
Thank you.
Nothing?
Yeah. What?
Not yet.
I've been in mediation all day. I was ready for it. 6 hours.
Fiscal officer, Mr. Rushing?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. On to meetings. Miami Valley Regional Planning, Ms. Wallace is not here. TAC,
No report.
Regional Planning and Coordination Commission of Greene County.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Health Department. I have a nice on-site sewer treatment systems presentation packet. If anybody is interested, I can pass that along to you. School superintendent, city manager.
Met with the city manager last week, and talked about some ongoing projects between the two communities. And some of we're keeping a close eye, and definitely was a topic last week at OCMA in regards to the current version of House Bill 1. It is probably not going to move forward in its current capacity. So they're probably going to rethink the property tax and the income tax sections. There was some discussion, although it doesn't affect townships, is getting rid of the state income tax. However, that's in the state constitution. So that would have to go to the voters of Ohio to make those changes. So there was a lot of discussion on that. There was also discussion amongst the city manager and myself in regards to what we potentially could see in the biannual budget. In the current budget as it's been presented, there is a slight increase in local government funds. Both the Ohio Municipal League, the County Association, and the Ohio Township Association have been working together to try to increase and kind of restore those numbers. The state's rainy day fund is the largest since we've become a state, since 1803. So there's been some discussion. So it is going from, I think, 1.6 to 1.7 or somewhere in that. It's only going up a little bit. So the transportation bill, there's a lot of additional grant monies and fundings. We're going to start looking at that in regards to some joint projects. We did both receive comments and concerns from residents along Beaver Valley about connecting bike paths. So we've been able to respond that both City Council and the Board of Township Trustees have moved forward in applying for grant money, and we are going to get awarded that money for the from essentially Hunter's Ridge to the intersection of Beaver Valley and Dayton Xenia, and that will be a totally upgrade, curb and gutter, including bike path. Unfortunately, that money doesn't become available till 2026, and that's engineering at that point.
Bike path or bike lane?
Bike path. So there's talking about extending the current bike path that is in Hunter's Point and then Hunter's Ridge all the way down to the bike path at Dayton Xenia. So
Is there a right of way for that, or is there have to?
well, so
require
that's so 2027 is the right-of-way discussion, and when funds become available in 2027 for right-of-way, and then I believe 2028 is construction. So engineering will start first in 2026. Then we'll know how much right-of-way discussion we'll need to have in 27. So it seems to might be hitting the Facebook pages of both all three HOAs along the east side of Beaver Valley. So 2 township neighborhoods and a city neighborhood. And I have not met with the superintendent.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing for Wright Pat. However, the Greene County Water and Wastewater Committee meets in 2 weeks.
Okay. Township Association, again, Ms. Wallace is not here, and investment oversight.
No, nothing to report.
Thank you. Okay, anything else to come before the board? If not, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
trustee
Yes.